Another Lonely Dream is the opening track on the album, and it was written at probably my lowest point in 2019. I was overcome with depression, self-doubt, and a hopelessness that I just couldn't really seem to escape from. And it ended with me having a bit of a meltdown at home. I say a bit of a meltdown, it was a very dramatic meltdown at home. The combination of the trauma of the events of 2019 and my current mental health just pushed me into this meltdown, and I ended up sitting down at the piano, playing with a couple of chords, and this really emotional, heartbreaking song came out. And I must admit, I found it really hard to look back and read what I had been writing about, because it actually made me realise how much I loathed myself and how much I felt like I couldn't go on. So in that respect, it's definitely the darkest moment on the album, but from there, it can only get lighter. Someone Up There's Got Something Against Me was written very early on in the 2019 traumatic period. I was actually at work at the time when it was written, and overcome with a lot of anger and frustration. I had a very traditional upbringing in the sense that I went to a Catholic school, and it wasn't until the events of 2019 kicked off that I started to doubt and question that, and I thought to myself, well actually, if there is some divine being up there, why are they allowing all of this chaos to happen? So I ended up writing what ended up being a very angry letter to God. It's probably a bit too angry. It's inspired by a lot of rock bands that I listened to when I was growing up, so Queen, Panic at the Disco. Their kind of edgy, very energetic sound was something that I definitely wanted to reflect in this song, because I was just so pissed off at the end of the day, and it felt like it was the only way I could channel all of this rage that God had allowed 2019 to take place. 2019 happened, and I remember I went to therapy and I thought to myself, okay, I really want to write a song that kind of sits on the boundaries of being in this state of hopelessness, but also being comfortable enough to see that there is a way out. And I started writing some lyrics down for a song about being in this kind of confused place of having made a deal with the devil and being suffocated by the past. And those lyrics turned into a song called Get Out, which I guess is a very emotional but very explosive, anthemic song about saying to your demons, you know what, I'm not dealing with you anymore, you either get out or I'm going to push you out. So it's a very defiant, triumphant song, and it's for anybody really who has any negative or intrusive thoughts that won't go away, and it's a way of raising a middle finger to them and saying, leave my life. That was a chapter of my life that you took over, but you're not going to take over it anymore because I'm done. Writing Lights of Yesterday was a very emotionally challenging one for me, because in 2019 I lost 3 very close friends over the space of 6 months. And the lyrics in this one are kind of an ode to them, a tribute to the wonderful, amazing lives that they led, and actually touching on the realisation that anything can happen to anybody so quickly, and you just have to treasure every single moment you have with a loved person. As dark as it seems, you never know when actually it could be the last time that you see them again. So it's actually about holding those dearest closest to you and embracing their presence and valuing every single minute. Writing this one really helped me process losing these 3 friends, and it certainly made the grieving process a lot easier for me. Yes, it's a very sad song, but it's also a peaceful reminder that we can all look out for each other and all treasure each other and love each other. Delighted Disgrace was written during the first lockdown of COVID-19 in the summer of 2020. It's a very upbeat, energetic, almost dance track, which wasn't the intention, because originally it was supposed to be a kind of alternative rock song. During the therapy process, I actually started to learn a lot about myself and why I am the way I am. You know, why I'm such a catastrophe. And for a long time I saw a lot of my problems as a disgrace, because I couldn't see any good in them and I was ashamed of them and really embarrassed by them. But this song actually kind of helped me to understand those things and collect them all and almost put them in a little jar and go, yeah, okay, these are my problems, but actually they make me unique and I should use them to my advantage. I should use them as like a weapon. And Delighted Disgrace is about that. It's about celebrating your problems and actually going, yeah, do you know what? I might be a disgrace because of these things that I've done or these things that I have, but I'm unstoppable, so I'm going to use them to my advantage. 2019 brought many challenges, primarily because I lost a lot of people in my life, and one of them was a very close family member, which Youre Gone Now was written about. It's funny actually, because I saw the death of this person coming, and I actually started writing this song almost in preparation for their death. It sounds really strange, but I was at home waiting for the phone call to tell me that this person had died. Another Lonely Dream is probably the darkest moment on the album, but this is probably the saddest moment on the album. It's just an expression of how sad I felt and how sad I still feel. Grief never really goes away, but it can get better over time, and I think that's the message of this song. I hope that Youre Gone Now brings people who've lost someone very close to them 3.5 minutes of just shut off time where they can just be with their own thoughts and reflect on the beautiful times that they had with somebody, because that's what writing the song did for me. We're All the Same is kind of a turning point in the album really, because this is where everything starts to become a little bit positive, a little bit lighter. It's a song which is really, really personal. It's almost kind of a letter to myself, which I wrote during the first lockdown. So it was written at a similar time to Delighted Disgrace, when I was looking at myself and starting to accept all of the things that I felt very, very insecure about. I'm a perfectionist, and I'm one of those people who puts too much pressure on myself and ends up exhausting myself. I'm also somebody who has incredible social anxiety, though it may not always show. And We're All the Same touches on these things. This was a huge song in reshaping my perception of myself. I still listen to this song now and I think to myself, God, just love yourself, man. Like, look after yourself. You're a human being, you have a body, you're alive, you're breathing. That is such an incredible thing. Though it can seem hard to recognise those things, the fact that my body has got me to where I am now is just such a big deal. Tornado continues the really upbeat, optimistic theme. It's a very explosive pop rock song about closing a chapter on your life and opening yourself up to brand new things which are really exciting and really happy. It's a song of eternal joy, and it was written at a time when my mental health was clearing up and I found myself able to see a lot more clearly. I think each of us in life have an individual tornado, and sometimes the hardest part is holding on and going for the ride and seeing where it will take you. I actually remember recording the vocals for this song first because it had such a strong vocal line that wouldn't leave my head, to the point where it actually got a little bit annoying. But I thought to myself, okay, I have to lay this down, and then I went back months later and applied all of the instrumentation. You know, usually my songs will stem from the atmosphere evoked by a piano or a guitar, but for this one, it was all about the lyrics and all about the vocals. Ride That Tornado. Where You Belong has a very kind of 80s Bruce Springsteen kind of vibe to it, I guess. It's a very fast, very energetic, very bouncy song that I wrote when looking back at the whole of 2019. It was actually written at the start of 2020, so I was looking back at the whole year and reflecting on everything that I'd been through. And it was essentially me saying to myself, it's been a tough ride, and this is what you've been through. Here is where you're heading. And by that stage, I had already been through about 10 months of therapy and personal reflection. I had been meditating a lot, doing lots of nature walks, looking after myself. So I was already on the right track to recovering and learning to understand and love myself again. I could already see a better place for me on the horizon, and this was about me looking to that place and reaching out for it. There's a place for all of us, and Where You Belong is about that place where you're meant to be. What Have You Done is the last ballad on the album. It's actually the penultimate track, which kind of allows a little bit of breathing space before the final track. This song was written in the middle of 2019 when I was already quite deep in a lot of personal problems and my mental health was beginning to spiral out of control at this point. And the lyrics in this song were kind of my final plea to myself to try and recover and come out of a very, very dark place. I had this chord progression in my head that was actually inspired by a beautiful Kenny Loggins song that I had heard accidentally on a Spotify playlist. So I started playing these chords and this little riff on the piano, and I started almost writing a letter to myself like I did with We're All the Same. And it basically said, you know, what have you done? You're ruining yourself trying to make it as a musician because you're working too hard, you're not getting anywhere. The most important message for this song is not to feel like you're going to hurt forever, because you won't hurt forever, as hard as it may seem. Blood Red Butterflies is the final song on the album, and for me, the perfect closing song to sum up my experience of 2019. It's a song about self-love and being able to recognise the beauty in the world again. I immediately had something that was very up-tempo but also very dreamy and very meditative in my mind. For me, a butterfly is a symbol of not only the complexity of life but also the radiance of life, about how magnificent and how beautiful it is to watch and see. So that's where the title came from. 2019 was a hell of a year and definitely pushed me to my limits, but with a song like Blood Red Butterflies I can look back on it with actually a lot of love now, as opposed to a lot of hatred and a lot of disdain, because actually it taught me about so many things I didn't know about myself, so many things I didn't know about the world, and for that reason I'm thankful for it. Really, really thankful actually.